Welcome back to Fast Market on the Schwab Network, everyone. Kevin Hinks and Nathan Peterson here for our cash tag segment. Now I'd like to bring in the co-founder of LikeFolio.com, Mr. Landon Swan, to the show. Landon, happy Thursday. Feels like Friday, though, Landon. We're talking about the high flyers in Magnificent Seven and then some of the beat-up names. Apple, in a rare situation, is actually one of the beat-up names. Does the data mean that this stock should be selling off as it has, Landon?
Yeah, I mean, you look at Google, Microsoft, and look at those two, and then look at Apple, and it's just like, are these in the same class? It's really strange to see how much Apple's down. I mean, it's down, I think, pretty significantly. If you look from the highs back in December, it's down about 15%. And the rest are, they're screaming higher. So there's definitely a good question to ask there. When we look at the data specifically, we've got mentioned data up 24% on a year-over-year basis. That's that blue line here, and the other line is the stock chart. You can see the spikes every time they have the conference, the keynote in September. So it's marching higher, doing really well. That's driven mostly by Mac and iPhone. Those are two of the strongest brands on a year-over-year basis. The web data is also strong, not as strong, but the web data is looking at a plus 5% on a year-over-year basis. And so, the fact that it's pulled back to 170 here, the stock basically at support levels from, if you go back to the fall, it's kind of looking like an opportunity to me. I mean, here we've got the web data, like I talked about, up about 5% year-over-year. Everything that Apple's doing seems to be on the right track. I mean, you can argue that the Vision Pro was, although extremely cool, it's just not, people aren't just rushing out to buy them. And I think frankly, it does kind of vary. It deviates a little bit. That product deviates a little bit from what their core mission is, which has been everyday usability. And this is just pushing the limits a little bit. I mean, you get the watch, slap it on your wrist. Most people are used to what a watch does, but this is on your eyes, it's on your face. It's not everyday usability, even though it's extremely cool. So I think it's straying a little bit from what their products are mostly known for. Again, amazing technology, but they just got to dial it in a little bit to be, I think, more in line with an everyday use case. And of course, the antitrust lawsuit, I think, has got investors a little bit scared. I don't know what the potential implications for this company could be if they were found to be, monopolistic in their way that they go about, or antitrust in the way that they go about, their messaging and their ecosystem and all of that. The free market guy in me says it's just smart business. As a former green bubble, and I've switched, it was severe. I mean, it was a big thing to be one of those green guys. And now I'm on the other side of it. I'm like, I wish they'd just get an iPhone. So, it's tough. But, you can argue that they're doing it intentionally. I think they probably are, but they should probably be allowed to do it intentionally. But that's not what the Department of Justice is likely to say. So we'll see how that comes out. But overall, the data looks pretty strong for this company. I don't see why it would be down 15% from highs when all the other ones are up. So for me, this is a good opportunity.
Hey, Landon, I'm an iPhone user. I've got an iPhone 12. My refresh cycle is probably somewhere around 4 years. But now that we know that there's going to be an AI-enabled, iPhone that's going to be coming out, obviously I'm not buying the 15, and they better have it on the 16, because if they don't, of course I'm not going to go with the 16, knowing that the next version is going to have the AI enablement. Is there anything in the data that's suggesting that consumers might be delaying their purchase or talking about waiting on the AI version, and therefore Apple takes a near-term hit to 15 or potentially 16?
We see a lot of anticipation. I don't think that we've got a lot of chatter that people, articulated just like you did. There's probably in the back of their minds, but I'm also wondering, is this a software update? Is this an iOS update? Can the new phones, do the new phones need the hardware, or is it a software thing? My guess is hardware, and I think that's what most people are thinking, just like you are. But maybe it's an iOS update, and so that all phones can be enabled by the AI update. I doubt that's the case. I think that's the hope for some, but we'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see exactly what's coming. But yeah, you're right. If it comes out, if 16's launched, and it doesn't have that, and it's not going to be a software update, and you got to wait for 17, then nobody's buying the 16. You're absolutely right.
Worldwide Developers Conference is actually June 10th this year. And the rumor is that they're going to come out with an iOS and a Mac OS that will incorporate generative AI. That's the rumor going around right now. We don't know for sure until it happens, but I'll give you the bull case for Apple, for people that are wondering, like, what can Apple possibly do? And Nathan touched on it. If we saw the data come out of Micron, right? And their upturn in PCs and smartphones. All Apple needs is a new cycle in smartphones. And people like Nathan, who has a 12, that might want to upgrade. I have a phone that's probably ready to be upgraded. If we get one of those, Landon, aren't we off to the races?
Yeah, I think that, everybody's kind of waiting. It seems like for a long time, every September, the keynote, there was a couple in there where the advancements were so big, it got everybody talking, very excited. But a lot of the times, it's the updates are really small lately. Like, it's just not getting people super excited. So this has the potential, I think, because everybody's played around with ChatGPT. They kind of get how powerful AI could be. So this has the potential to completely change if you get a new cycle coming in. And, if they can get it in the 16 and make it only available to the 16, not an iOS update for older models, then everybody's going to have to go buy one. I mean, I don't know which one I have, but I'd absolutely consider going and get a new one if that was the case. So, and just knowing Apple, how, the batteries always seem to struggle in September as they're releasing the new one, and they do all these ecosystem things. I wouldn't be surprised if they release it and say it's limited to the 16 to get that new cycle coming in. And that would be big for the stock. Absolutely.
Landon, one last thing before we let you go. When I'm looking at the mentions count on your Apple data that you provided for us, are we getting a little divergence there? Is that looking opportunistic to you when you see that gap that Apple doesn't normally have too much? It's getting a little wide there. Are you seeing something there?
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you got the stock's down 15% from December. The mentions are up 24% year over year. And, you can see that the last couple of times, I mean, these two lines, even though they're on different scales, you can kind of see the movement that they have together. A lot of times when you get too far away from each other, that's the move. That's the next expected move as far as the stock goes. So, around 170, I'm thinking this is a little bit oversold right here. And I don't know if we're going to test all-time highs again over the next couple of months, but 170 seems like a pretty good buying opportunity in my mind, especially if you look back at that, go back to that fall support. I mean, 170 was kind of the number. And if there is anything that's coming out in the next couple of months that suggests that AI is going to be in the release of the next phone, I think that's really going to boost things. So you got some potential here. The only downside, again, is this antitrust case. I don't know what the ramifications could be for the company if they have to, weaken restrictions, and then all of a sudden Androids are more appealing if they're green, if they're blue all of a sudden. So we'll see about that. That's kind of a big question mark. But yes, I think there is a lot of upside. And right now, the price versus what the data says, that's telling us that Apple is a little bit undervalued right now.
Landon Swan, thanks for coming on as always. Thanks for bringing the LikeFolio top-tier data to the show that you always bring. Have a great Easter weekend, Landon.
Thanks, guys. You too.
All right, Nathan, let's get to our trade. And this is something that this paper money trade